Hello, this is Chala Dincoy. Welcome to another edition of Polish My Pitch, the deep dive. And I've got somebody who's sitting warmly in the lobby of a hotel in Colombia. His name is Bryan Clayton. Welcome, Bryan.
Thanks for having me on. Great to be here.
I'm not even going to ask what you're doing there, but it sounds like you're happy. It looks
Hey, it's
like you're
warm.
happy.
I'm in Medellin, Colombia. It's 75 degrees outside, and back home, I think it's right at about 5 degrees. So I'm happy. Let's just say that.
I mean, being in the lawn business, you're probably happy where it's warm, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a slower time of year for us, so I can travel a bit. And being in a digital startup has its perks. You can run your business from anywhere with an internet connection.
Oh my God, tell us about this business. I was so excited. I want you so badly to be here.
So, what my company's called GreenPal. GreenPal is the Uber for lawn mowing. So if you have a yard, you need to get a grass cutting service, rather than calling around on Craigslist or Facebook, you can just use our app, put your address in, and somebody will come mow your yard tomorrow. You'll get bids, competitive bids from lawn care services in your neighborhood. You pick which one you want to work with. They do a good job for you. You can book them for the whole season right on the app. It just happens like magic in the background. Been at this
That's
for
amazing.
8 years. We're an 8-year overnight success. We started in the summer of 2014, and we ended our first year with 20 customers. And now we have over 300,000 people using the app to get their grass cut. We're doing $20 million a year in revenue and doubling every year.
Are you in like Colombia to expand or?
Well, yeah, I love travel. Travel is like my passion, and so for the first 5-6 years of building GreenPal, I couldn't travel at all, and because it was just 7 days a week, 100-hour weeks getting this thing going. But now that the business is profitable, we've got a good team. Our team is distributed all over the world. We have 24 people that work in the company. And so we're distributed all over the United States and all over the world. And so I can run the business from anywhere. So now I'm able to travel and enjoy, seeing new countries, seeing new cultures while running my business. And that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So how did you even get into this? Were you in the lawn mowing like sphere?
Great question. My first business was a grass cutting service. I actually
Oh my
started
God.
mowing yards in high school as a way to make extra cash. And I just stuck with that business all through high school, all through college. And when I graduated college, I had to make a decision. Was I going to go into the job market or stick with this little lawn mowing business I had? And I decided, hey, I don't really want to be in the grass cutting business my whole life, but I'm doing pretty good. And I laid out a little business plan. And over a 15-year period of time, I built that first little lawn mowing business from just myself and a push mower to over 150 people, and got it over $10 million a year in revenue. And in 2013, that business was actually acquired by one of the largest landscaping companies in the United States.
I
And
love
so
it.
building that business just for me, no revenue, like 5 customers, push mower to over 100 trucks going out every day. I learned a lot, just how to build a business from scratch, just through trial and error. And in 2013, sold that business. I retired. I didn't really have to work anymore. And I took some time off, and I got bored. I realized something about myself, that, hey, I'm wired to love business. That business is the thing that kind of like causes me to level up in life. It is the thing that causes me to do things that I never would have done, and learn things I never would have wanted to learn. And so I recognized that, and I recruited 2 co-founders and started GreenPal.
Wow. So it was like Uber and everything, all that, like heavy on the scene, and you saw what they were doing, and how did that all come together?
Yeah, you nailed it. It was kind of one of these things where it was 2014. You had Airbnb, Uber, Lyft. They were just kind of starting to get some traction,
Mm.
although they had been around for 5 years up until that point. But it was really when they started to break out. And I just saw that, okay, I've spent 15 years in this one industry. I saw how hard it was for a homeowner to find the best fit lawn mowing service, and how inefficient these things happen, and how inefficient the lawn mowing business is. And I thought, okay, an app needs to exist for this. A platform needs to exist for the business I've spent the last 15 years of my life in. And it was kind of like the naivete is what got me in the game. I didn't know how hard it was going to be. I didn't know the challenges I was going to be up against. And luckily I was naive about it. And because if I'd known how hard and challenging it was going to be, I probably would have never done it. But the first 2 or 3 years building the business were slow. It was hard to get it going. But after we figured out a playbook on how to launch into a new city and how to get the critical mass of buyers and sellers onto the platform, we started to roll out and move pretty fast. And so I was kind of solving my own problem, I guess you could say. And I didn't know what I didn't know, but I just knew I needed to get started.
What was the biggest problem? I mean, you talk about how hard it was and how many problems there were. My God, what was the biggest problem?
So I didn't know the first thing about how to build software. I didn't know the first thing about how to code or design software or distribute and market software. And neither did my two co-founders. I recruited two people that were hardworking, had a chip on their shoulder, wanted to make something of themselves, wanted to do something great with their time. And so that was really what I was optimizing for. But none of us knew the first thing about how to build software. I had spent 15 years in a blue collar industry, where I was dealing with laborers and mechanics and trucks and machinery and, like a face-to-face sales process, all of these things like hand-to-hand combat style. And I kind of had to reinvent myself as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, and learn how to build software, learn how to write code. Like I'm a very, very crappy front end engineer. I can write software. I can build websites and stuff. And it took me 2 years to do that. And my co-founder, it took him 2 years to learn how to build the back end side of the software. And so it was a long process of working on ourselves, working in the business and working on the business at the same time. And, the only way we could deal with it was just put in the hours. We had to put in the 6 and 7 day weeks, the 12, 13, 14 hour days for years to get over the cold start. And luckily we stuck with it. The only thing that really kind of kept me going during a lot of those hard years was I'm always going to be working on my best idea, and that's just the default. I'm not going to be working on something. And so GreenPal was and is my best idea. Luckily, I'm not very creative, and I just stuck with this one thing.
Okay, here's an idea out of left field. Why didn't you hire someone to develop this software for you instead of learning how to code?
You nailed it. So when we started, it's a good story. When we started, we didn't know the first thing on how to write software. And so we thought that, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll just pay this development shop to build GreenPal, and we'll market it and we'll be off and going. And we can just outsource it. And so we did that. We pulled our money together. We spent $150,000 on building the first kind of, beta of the app. It took this shop 9 months to build it, and we launched it, and it was a total failure. It didn't have the feature set it needed. It was clunky. It was hard to use. And a lot of that too was we didn't know. We didn't know what the feature set should be. We didn't really know how the interfaces needed to be crafted because we were kind of just shooting in the dark. And once we launched this thing, we were like, wow, there's a lot of improvements need to be made to this. And there's just no way we can outsource that. We have to figure out how to do this ourselves. And we were confronted with the reality of, to be in the tech business, we're going to have to execute tech. We're going to have to be able to understand how to iterate and improve this thing. And we ended up starting over again. We scrapped that whole project. And the second time around, we built it ourselves as we were learning to build software. And so I learned the hard way that you can't delegate from a standpoint of abdication. You can only delegate from a standpoint of some sort of mastery. And so it's oh, I don't know how to do that, you handle it. Never works. It's oh, I know how to do this. This is how we do it. Now you do it. That's how you delegate. And that painful process took us 4 years and 6 figures to learn. And so as the pendulum swung back, we were too scared to delegate. And so we held on to this stuff too long. And that was a mistake we made. So we made the mistake of delegating too soon. And then we made the mistake of waiting too long to delegate again. And so from this point to this point, it was 4 years of just gutting it out. Now we have a team of 23 people. I've got 9 engineers that report to me every day, on what they're doing, and I'm directing them. And so it's taken a long time to learn those lessons and develop the knowledge to be able to do it. but I don't know that there's a way to like sidestep that. You know, if you're going to start a tech startup, you got to be able to build tech.
I'm just like amazed. I would have made exactly the same mistake. I would have hired out, paid my brains out, my life savings. And then what the issue is how you were capable of learning how to code from coming from such and not only willing to, okay, I get that, but the capability. Not everybody has that capability. It's amazing. That's the amazing part.
You know, it's doable. Is it easy?
And for you?
No. I'm not wired to love that stuff either. You know, ideally, when you start a tech startup, you have a hacker and a hustler. You have somebody who just loves to tinker with technology, you know, built their first website in high school, maybe like hacked into the high school to change their grades or some crap like that. You know, ideally, you have a hacker and a hustler. But that wasn't how the dynamic that we had. It's really hard to like find those personality types and put them together. And so I think for us, it was like, we were so pissed off that we pissed away 150 grand that we kind of like wanted to like right that wrong. And so we just poured over every online course we could, every YouTube video, every website that would teach you how to code. I mean, we spent years doing this stuff and just using that knowledge to build the business. And then, you know, like I said, then we just did that for too long. Like we did that for 3 years, just all of ourselves. We were like scared to release the project to people to help us build it. And that cost us a long time.
Wow. So now, like you're a little bit older and more sophisticated, trying to start a new venture, are you gonna like do things differently?
So I'm working on GreenPal now. You know, we're 8 years in. We've doubled every year in revenue for the past 5 years, but we still have a long way to go. And so like, this is my thing. This is probably what I'm going to spend the next 10 years of my life doing. If I could have done it all over again, I could do in 2 years what took us 8. And I think a lot of times when you observe these like tech entrepreneurs that are just crushing it, you know, you look at like what they do in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, and you're like, wow, how'd they do all of that so quickly? And what you don't realize is, like, they're on their second or third company. They already failed a couple of times. They already crashed and burned, or they already tinkered with this one thing. You're not looking at like 2 years or 3 years or 5. You're looking at like 10 or 20. And so I think every entrepreneur kind of has to go through that process of just failure and like doing things wrong and then applying them to the next thing. And for me, you know, I think this is my only thing. I think this will be the last business I ever start.
Good. Because it looks like you're busy enough. I was always afraid, like I was a corporate girl for 18 years and then I started my own business, but I was always afraid of what you just told me about, this crazy, busy, incredibly absorbed life where like you just have no choice. Like it's do or die and it's all in. And it's so consuming that there's really no room for like much else. How did you like balance that? And did that have repercussions?
I agree with everything you're saying. I think any business, it doesn't matter if you're starting a hair salon, a home cleaning service, a website that delivers food, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I think to get the business from 0 to 1, like to get over the cold start, you're going to have to throw your life's force into it. It's 7 days a week. It's like when you get in the shower and you're thinking about your business. When your head hits the pillow, your head hits the pillow, you're thinking about your business. And I mean, that's just what it requires. To get one off the ground. And I think you have to run hard for the first 5 years to get it going. I think after you get some momentum going, you get your first, you know, whatever it is, million in revenue or whatever is good for your business. I think you can like pull back a little bit, but to get going from scratch, I think it's like all in. It's your entire life's energy into the business to get it going. And there's going to be sacrifices you're going to make. Unfortunately, you know, I mean, relationships are going to suffer. I don't see any, sadly, I don't see any way around it unless your spouse is like completely bought into the vision like you are. You know, it's just a reality of it, I think, at least in my personal experience. And I think that like the notion of work-life balance when you're first getting started is a dangerous one, because a lot of these new entrepreneurs just kind of want to manifest it and just want to like positive psychology their way through it. And it's like, no, I mean, yes, but you need to be like, nobody's going to write that blog post. Nobody's going to send those 100 pitches. Nobody's going to like write those 100,000 lines of code. Nobody is going to interview those 5 people. Like, you have to do this stuff. You got to put in the work, and especially in the early days. And so that's just my experience building two businesses from scratch and getting them to 8 figures. It's like, it's a full contact sport for many, many years. And then, you can kind of pull back a little bit. And so for me, is it worth it? Yes. Like, I think if you look at your life in the context of like a storyline, and you look at yourself as the main character of your story and you yourself as the hero, I think your business can be that storyline. I like every good movie, the main character like goes through these trials and tribulations and they overcome obstacles to get what they want. And I think like your business can be the thing that lends you that storyline and lends you that purpose. So I think it's worth it.
Yeah. You're like, I don't even know what to say. You're like the Dr. Phil of lawn mowing or something. It's like, there's no manifestation. You got to do the blog.
I think it's worth the sacrifices. I really do. And I think they can be short term if you do it right.
Yeah, I love it. So closing off, what advice do you want to leave our listeners and our viewers with?
I think if you're starting your business or you're growing your business, I think the way to win is to not give up and to look at it like an infinite game almost. Like, this is just the thing you're going to be working on until it's successful. For me, like I mentioned, the thing that kept me going through a lot of the down years was, okay, I'm working on my best idea. That's it. Like, I'm always going to be working on my best idea. So things aren't good right now, but I just got to keep working on it. And I think that's the way to win. I think what causes a lot of failure for business owners is they give up too quickly and they want to see something like explode in a year, 2 or 3. And it really takes 5, 10, or 15. And so I think the way to win is to not give up, just keep moving forward, focus on 2 or 3 things at a time, improve those, and don't even worry about anything else.
I love it. Take that to the bank, guys. Thanks for being a guest, Bryan.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.